much. And welcome everybody to today's live session also. Today we'll be talking mostly about the crop mask. So before and after talking about it, you actually do a live demo. So before that, we just give a brief background information on the crop mask and currently where we are at on the crop mask. So talk about the overview, the accuracies, then we also do a live demo. So when you are defining cropland, what you are trying to say is a piece of land that has minimum of 0.01 acres. That's by a single 10 by 10 pixel that is sowed or planted and harvested at least within the 12 months after the sowing or planting date. So with this definition, we actually exclude non-planted grazing lands, that's and perennial crops, which can be difficult for satellite imagery to differentiate from natural vegetation. So Digital Africa is trying to develop this crop extent for the whole of Africa so that you'll be able to know the extent of crops that you have throughout the continent. So with the crop land extent that has been built, it's actually been done with an extensive training data. So currently we are working on the West and the East African data sets is available, coupled with random forest machine learning models. So having this model, we're able to come up with a crop map extent for both East and West African regions. The crop map extends actually available free. That's the notebooks that we use to do this computation. And you can actually find it on the Jupyter notebooks in the Digital Earth Africa repository on GitHub. So once you are there, the functionalities and all the algorithms that we use to come up with the crop extent for the whole of Africa, for the whole of West and East Africa, the algorithm is there, which you can actually also use it at your own end. So the accuracies. So we work together with our partners within the continent for both East Africa and West Africa to actually develop the crop mass for that particular area. The data set that we actually use was Sentinel-2, and with the Sentinel-2, we were able to come up with an accuracy of 90.3% for the 2019 data sets. And also for the West African region, the accuracy was 83.6%, based on the validation that we did on the data sets for 2019 using the Sentinel data. The mission is to generate these products annually. So now that we have it for 2019, very soon we are going to do it for the rest of the sub-regions, that's the southern and the northern and the central. Having these areas, then after that, you start doing it for yearly products. So currently, as we speak, we have for the Eastern and the Western available for use. So this is just a little background information that I wanted us to run on. So right now that you've known about the crop mass and its extent on the platform, the next thing is to go straight directly to the map box, to the maps, and see where we can actually find it. A minute. Oh, okay. Okay, let me share my screen. So, currently the crop mass extent for the Eastern Africa layer is available on the sandbox and is also available at the maps. So you can actually do a lot of computation using the two different types of calculations. So with the maps, when you visit the maps.digitalearth.africa, to get access to the crop mass is to go to the Explore Map Data. Once you click on the Explore Map Data, this data dialog will open for you. Then you move on to the agriculture tab, where you are going to have the cropland extent map. Then after that, you have both the eastern and the western crop maps for the 2019 Sentinel data available. So once you click on the add, it will add the 2 data sets to it. So with this, I'm going to add the 2 data sets for the area for you. So once it's loading, you actually notice that right now it's only available for these 2 particular sections, that's the eastern and the western region, whereby it's actually able to help you identify where actually we have crops, where we have crops available. Looking at the style, so we have the cropland. So with the cropland is the areas where we have crops available based on the definition. And if you come up with a cropland object filter, the object filter actually makes it more finer. It improves the accuracy of the imagery for the areas that you are working with. So I'll give you an example of why the object actually gives an improved area. Then you also have the probability of cropping. Because you use the algorithm, areas that weren't able to identify, you also have the probability scale, whereby you actually use it to know areas which were which had high accuracy of identifying crops, areas which was mid, and areas which didn't even have regions of identifying the crops. So let me move on to another tab which I just loaded here. So this is a part of within the area of Tanzania, whereby we have these areas which actually identify as a crop mask. So within this area, you can actually see the crop here area. So all these areas that you are seeing are areas which the algorithm has actually identified as a cropland area. So with this, you can actually change in between, going into the cropland object, which is actually define the tune. So as you can see, the first one is actually based on pixels. So actually you see a little bit of holes in it. But if you use the object, it actually classify it as object. So a lot of areas will be covered, whereby you can actually see the beneath it, under it as a crop. Then using the probability of cropping, you can actually see how the algorithm mapped these areas. So the areas being yellow means that it was a high probability that all those areas based on the training sample, all those areas were actually identified as crops, and the dark areas, those areas weren't identified, the probability was very zero, so it wasn't able to identify them as crops. So having these data sets available on the platform actually will help us to be able to know areas where we have crops and areas where you don't have crops. And using data also to actually also help us in case you are trying to identify areas that you haven't been there. Will it be probably to use this crop extent? Yes, you can actually use this crop extents to work on those areas to do the work. At this point, I will hand over for Joseph to also demonstrate another particular area that he also used the crop mask to test it for us to know the area. He has a little bit information about that area, so Joseph will be in a great position to talk about that area. So I will hand over for Joseph to do that for us.
Thank you, Eddie. I am sorry, it is raining in Kigali, a lot of wind. So if you hear a background noise, don't mind. So the demonstration will be about an area on the feet of Volcanoes National Park. It's called Kinigi. And for those who are familiar with the Kigali, this is the area. So this area is known as the production of sweet.
Joseph, you can share your screen. Yeah, we can hear you. Can you share your screen?
Yes, I'm trying to taking longer. So I am sorry, but
let me share it here for you.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so just a minute, I'm uploading the image.
Could you see my screen?
Yes, you can see your screen.
Okay, good.
Yes.
You see Chinigi sector in the red boundary.
Yes, we can see.
Yes, actually, this sector is known for the production of Irish potatoes in Rwanda, and currently people there are being relocated for the park extension. So I took this area because we have both forests and also for VNP, Vocas National Park, and some fields. So we would like to see if the product of this crop mask matches the reality on fields. So I can upload the crop plant for the eastern of Africa. And as you see on the screen, in green, they are what we call croplands, and you can see the boundaries of the park are clear. And also you can see some dots inside the park. So as Ed said, the probability was 93% in the eastern part of Africa. And of course, that's why we could see some dots in the forest. We don't want to mean that we have fields in VNP, but there are some pixels that might be caused by modeling capacity. So for those who know Kinigi, especially people in Rwanda, if we've been on this show, if we try to, I kept SRI base map, and if we try to remove the crop, and we could see they're more or less matching the fields in the area. The same way if you go down to Kinigi, in Musanze, this is Musanze city. This one where I'm pointing, you can see in this city, buildings were masked very well, and some of fields were also matching the reality of field. But the thing of this, I found some area of improvement, especially for gardens in the city that could have been considered as crops, maybe based on the greenness. So if you go to the probability of cropping, sorry, my network is not very friendly to take longer. But
you can disable your video.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So definitely it comes, no problem too. So if you can see, especially where we have some kind of ways and also some settlement, those areas have a low probability of cropping, while if you can see the volcanoes park still is masked because we don't have crop there. So to sum up, we can say that this crop mask at small scale of Kinigi could give us an idea or could inform decision making in the area. And this was the one part. I took also another part in the eastern part in Muvumba, and they were more or less matching. So it's up to the group to explore. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph, for the area that you showed us within this. So there's another area that I would like to show, and whilst I'm showing that area, you can also have an area that you know that for us to get an idea of whether there's crops there or not. So you can also prepare those areas and share it with us. And the great thing is we have our IPs here with us. We have Afrigist, we have Agreement. So any questions, and they help us and our CMRD and OSS, they help us to validate this data. So please, any question you have, you can also ask us here. And I know that our IPs can also help us to answer these questions. So let me share the area that I wanted to share.
Yes, Edward, there was a question by Bako himself about the presence of crops where there are towns or trees.
Actually,
yeah, Joseph.
So actually, that's what I learned when I was viewing the map. It's like some of the gardens, maybe because they are green, they could also change the color in the dry season. So in this map, some of the gardens should have been considered as a field, especially in urban areas. So it's something to check before confirming. Thank you.
Yes, and the product is also trying to help us identify crops. So there will be a probability that some areas with lands, like with trees cover, it can pick it as crops, but normally based on the training data we have, most of those areas has also been able to be identified, and some of these areas are also masked out from the data set. So within that green areas is probably it will pick it as crops, but this is also another way to go around the area of having towns and forests being mapped as croplands. But as I showed the accuracy, there's a probability that with Eastern Africa, we have about 90%, and with Western Africa, we have about 80% of accuracy, validation that it actually works. So those are some of the problems that you can actually have. Do you have a place that you'll be interested for us to go, for all of us to visit and see how the crop mass will actually work at that area? We'll be happy to share, we'll be happy to let us know, then we can zoom to that particular area and see. So this is also another area that was shared with us with Ken. The great thing is you are using the this plain one, but you can actually change the base map to an Esri base map here, so that you can actually also get a base map to see what is actually beneath the area that you are working with. So this is an area that I just uploaded. And these are all areas with croplands that something is actually mapping around that particular side. So the area that I'm just showing is the Emua farms in Kenya. Emua farms in Kenya, and this is their land that they are actually working throughout. So you can actually see. So these are these are the products that Digital Earth Africa will be developing, and this one is actually based on 2019. Very soon, 2020 will be out. Once the extent for the whole of Africa, the continent is done for 2019, 2020 will be out. Then as time goes on, you'll be having all those annually crop mass data continuously to actually help us to do an estimation of actually what will actually happen if you have this historical trend of data being available for us. Meanwhile, also what we're also happy about is for you to also play around with it, visit the site, go to areas that you actually believe that those areas are farmlands, check it out, and also you'll be happy to have your response on whatever you find, so that as soon as you are going, we're able to refine the model along the way. So thank you very much. This is what I wanted us to share today. Over to you, Ken.
Thank you so much, Edward. You've left us some of them I can see the faces, they're trying to digest, or also they're thinking about giving us more examples, or also they're thinking about asking the methods used. So we are allowing them some time to see if we can get more questions, especially the persons who've joined us for the first time, like Lewis. Lewis, are you calling from Rwanda?
Yes, I'm in Rwanda.
Amakuru Lewis.
Amakuru meza.
Okay.
I'm a student in geoinformation science for environmental and sustainable development. I joined the group on WhatsApp with, where I found this link and I was interested, but I would like to know whether this data can be used in other softwares. This is my question: how to export them, or how to use them, or if also can be exported so that can be used in other software, like other software for GIS. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lewis, for your question. First and foremost, the data is now available on the DE Africa maps, and we are working on providing it for the through an API service, which Edward will add more information about this. Then soon we'll have a sandbox that you can add. Then also there was a question from Victoria. Yes, everything is publicly available, including the metadata and the methodology. And also there's a question from Bako, which Edward will answer.
Oh, okay. So Bako, currently the crop maps for West Africa is available on the map platform, and also the BMS services is also available. So if you, let me share the link here. If you go to that particular link, you can get access to it, both the maps and also both the API, so that you can actually get get used to it and start working with it. So, and also very soon the northern section of Africa will be ready. So hopefully when that session, I know that will cover some part of Senegal also. So most of the African continent will be covered from the western to the northern section also. Hello, Bako, please have I answered your question?
Yes, Edward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bako.
Thank you, Bako. And also it's good also to hear your voice. Do you have any other information as we go to Moshoshoi from Lesotho?
Good afternoon once again.
Welcome, sir.
I fully understand the crop mask, and I think I understand how it works. My question is, does it have the capacity to estimate yield?
This is a very good question. I think it's a work in progress as the work we did with the various persons in this call. We had a call for people from different ministries to help us improve this algorithm in terms of validation. So it means if in Lesotho, you can link us with the Ministry of Agriculture, who can provide us with some more ground data to improve this product. But it's very, very possible to do the same. And also, I think on the higher level of a minister, they'll be able to get information about what is the crop probability. And also, thanks to the scalable machine learning and other algorithms, we can actually do much, much more of unpacking. So we are still unpacking this information and data to everybody in the continent. Edward, any addition?
Ken, I think you've said it all. Henry had a question of, is interested in its application, example, especially if it can differentiate the crop types predicted. Currently, as Ken said, we are working with the various institutions to improve that as it goes on. So currently, it helps us to identify the crops area. Very soon, we are going to release another product, that's the fractal and also the NDVI anomalies. I think having all these products and combining them with the threshold will be able to help us work with the crop types. So hopefully when those products are ready, I think it will actually help us too.
Thank you so much, Edward. And also I wish to recognize Benjamin from the Forest Commission. Any input from your side, sir, to improve this work?
Hi, Ken. Thanks for having me. I joined in a bit late, so I seem to have missed a lot. But I would say that it's a very interesting work that is being done, and with time, I would give my input, basically.
Thank you so much, Benjamin. I was thinking more closely of how you have your farm, your forests, and how communities engage with the forests. Maybe we could see that kind of interaction with the most forest agencies of where is the forest and where the people can do the farming. It can be a useful tool. I was thinking around those lines.
Yeah, so that's a good input. But unfortunately for me, I joined in when Edward had basically finished his presentation, and so I didn't see much. It will be difficult to do those linkages. So I'll contact him on the sidelines and see how best I can also contribute.
No problem, Benjamin. You're most welcome. Stephen Corey, any update from your side? I know you've been very busy at Pula, and also I thought about you with the example for paddy fields, and it was showing some interesting results, which I put in the chat.
Hi, Ken.
Yes, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm sorry I came in a bit late. I was in another meeting. I think I missed out on the presentation. Yeah, but I do not have much from my side. I'm just working on how we could work together with DEA, and I'll let you know about what we come up with. Yeah, and somebody was asking about yield prediction, and you say that probably that is a product that you'll be coming up with in the near future. So when you start doing that project, please include me to be part of the team so that I can be able to give my little expertise on the same.
Thank you so much. You'll be a very important stakeholder, of course. Also, there's a question from Eileen, who has a very good garden somewhere, and it can be classified like a garden. What are the scenarios, Edward?
Yeah, hello.
Welcome,
Hello,
my brother.
Ken.
Yes, sir. We had a
The
question
line
from
break.
Eileen. Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So for the gardens, probably because of its nature, it can be considered. So mostly what we can do is you can alert us because we are still collecting data. So those areas also you can alert us to add that model to the that data to the validation. So it can also actually help us to do that differentiation. So if we identify those areas also, let us know.
Thank you so much, Edward. Also another
Can I
question
come in?
from Henry. Henry Bafo.
Hello, Ken. Thank you very much. That's a good product there, and I've already begun thinking about its application. I want to find out the universal probability. You said it was around 95%. I want to know whether it is distributed and that there is an attribute with the data set that tells us for which the confidence level for each area. You know, the NASA fire data gives us a confidence level attribution so that we know that the prediction at a particular area is more likely to be so than another area. Is it, does this crop map have similar attribution?
Yes, so I've shared the documents in the chat that actually gives us that area. So right now we are doing it based on regions. So for the regions, that's in Eastern region, like the eastern part of the Africa, that's where we have about over 90 accuracy. The percentage of accuracy is above 90. But for West Africa, it's around 83 and upwards. So the document that I've shared actually gives detailed information on how these validations are done. And even the data that we use for the validation is also part of the documents that I've just shared with you.
Thank you so much. And also Joseph had another comment to add.
Yes, Ken. Actually, I was writing the comments, just saying that we can always confuse crops in the gardens, but we have a harvesting time for crops, and we never harvest gardens. So we can see monitors the phenology and try to mask gardens later on as we improve the product. But in whatever case, the accuracy of 93% is enough for natural sciences. So the product is still of great use, although we always aim to increase or to improve the accuracy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joseph. And also we are joined by our very own Wallace, who's a farmer from Mofa, Ghana. Any input from you, sir?
Currently, I didn't join early. Good day to all the audience and all part of it. I have observed a lot, and I'm trying to put things together as I've been quite busy lately with the population census. Hopefully, I should be making an input and getting the data collection very compact to help others to also follow to make a better place. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wallace. And I know the work you do with the statistics is to be very useful if we can also organize for a different meeting with you and Edward in Accra City when time allows. Also, we are joined by Stella. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So any other person in any comments before we wind up the session and make any follow-ups within each other in the different networks? Victoria, did you get the answers that you asked?
Yes. The other question I had was, I remember last week we talked about, or the previous week, we talked about getting vegetation indices for Sentinel-1 data. So I wanted to ask, what's the latest or update on that?
Yes, my colleague Edward, product updates.
Yeah, so I think there has been a lot of updates on it. So right now, there has been a notebook that has been released that's a radar vegetation index for farm areas using phenology. So it's a method of whereby you use the radar image for phenology instead of using the Sentinel-2. So that notebook is currently available on the Sandbox, whereby you go there, you actually get access to that particular notebooks. And currently also, right now, CHIPS data is also available on the platform. Very soon, you make it available for everyone to use that one also. So the crop mass using the radar for the crops. So that's one thing that we've just talked about. That's the phenology using the radar. It's actually an interesting tool that you can actually look into it, and also it can also help in this identification of areas where we have these crop marks there. So it actually combines the crop mass and the radar on how to develop the phenology for a particular area. So those are the products that are currently available.
Thank you so much, Edward, for this update. And I think I was just trying to post the link to the GitHub, which you already have something as there to show the latest updates. And also us is to thank everybody for connecting with us today. Anyone else before we wind up today? So Bako, any update from your side? Yes, Stella, please.
I joined late. I'm sorry. I'm just requesting whether we could have the slides for today so that I can go through it. Thank you.
Yes, Edward, with your permission, he'll share.
Yes, please. Yes, I'll share the slide.
No charge of the slide. It's free. Okay. Bako, any word from you, our implementing partner?
Yeah, so I just want to thank you, Ken, and Joseph, as well as Edward, for all your support for our community.
Thank you so much. And we are here to make things better for us in Africa, the Africa we want. So thank you, everyone, for your input and support. And we'll continue to connect through various platforms and see you next week, God willing, inshallah. Bye-bye.